Hey there, I'm Daniel. Welcome to my channel, Bandit's Keep. So in this video, we're going to talk about creating an adventure, but an improvised adventure, if that even makes sense to say it like that. So I actually got a message on one of my other videos from John Miller. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically he says, I guess he must have watched it. I did another video on kind of prepping. And he said, well, how do you prep for the Death Rolled Kingdoms or the Thousand Island campaign that you're running, which I'm running in Dungeon Crawl Classics? Because he's probably seen the books because he's said the books are beautiful, but they're very simple. They don't have like a lot. They don't have stats and have maps. They're very, very minimalistic. So how do you do it? He was curious how I did it, and the answer to that is this is very different. And I think maybe there could be several videos about this kind of thing. Depending on the system I'm running and what exactly I'm doing, my preparation is very different. So he talked about maps and things like that, like he might do. The only time so far, I think we're going in session 8 tomorrow. The only time I've used a map at all was in one adventure where there was a bit of a dungeon, and I just grabbed it from offline. So I actually have a folder on my computer that's just called Maps. And every once in a while, when I'm just surfing around the internet and I find maps that are cool, a lot of times from like Dice and Logos or something, I'll just throw them in that folder so I have maps available to me if I need them in a pinch. But I've come to a lot of times with dungeon stuff, I've started to not even have maps if the dungeons are small, unless very specifically I'm doing a dungeon crawl. What I mean by that is a lot of times the dungeons that I'll use, especially in like smaller adventures, or where it's not the main part of the adventure, it'll just be like 1 or 2 rooms. So I just put some notes of what it is. I don't even bother to actually have a map. But very specifically what I'm doing here. So this is, and I'm just going to call it this. I don't know what it would actually be called, but I'm calling it an improvised adventure. So if you think about it like this, some adventures, like I'm running my Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers campaign, I'm running using modules for that. Those are kind of pre-written. I mean, obviously, depending on what the players do, things change and you have to improvise. Of course, you're always improvising, right? But what I mean by an improvised adventure is that this is essentially a hex crawl, although we're not doing the hex crawl technique, sandbox, however you want to say it. Essentially, the player, Nikki, because we've basically been running this one-on-one for the most part, is directing the narrative with what her character does. So it doesn't make sense for me to go too far ahead on any of my planning because I don't know what she's going to do next. We move forward a little bit, and then each week, I add a little bit more, and we base, whatever happens in the previous weeks, I either have it come back around, or if it's something that we really enjoyed, I add more of that kind of stuff to the game. And so it really is a kind of a free-form way of prepping. So I'm going to actually prep for tomorrow. I guess spoiler, if you watch this on Tuesday, tomorrow is Wednesday, we're going to start off the session because one of our characters got the Find Familiar spell. So we're actually going to start off by doing the Find Familiar as like a flashback so we can actually do the spell together. But once we do that, we're going to jump back in. Currently, they're going up the river. So I'm going to show you my screen. Well, first, I'm going to put OBS in the background so we don't have that weird... Actually, before I show it, well, I'm going to show you my screen, but before I get into how I do stuff, let me just show you, to people who don't know about Thousand Islands. So I'm looking at it now, right? 8,000 islands, or 1,000 islands, as it's seen here, is basically a set of, I guess the best way I could describe it is a set of zines that talk about this area that's the Thousand Islands, but done by Zedek Siu. I'm not sure how to pronounce these people's name. I'm terrible at pronunciation. I apologize. And Munkeo is the illustrator. My understanding of this, and I only know this because I think this because I've seen other people say it, so I could be wrong, is that the illustrator has been doing these illustrations, and then the writer, kind of gets inspired by them and creates. So, for instance, this is how this adventure started. 5 days by boat upriver. You come to a wide lake, watched by limestone cliffs. Shapes lurk in the water. Shapes wait up ahead. Like, what the hell is that, right? I mean, this is kind of the idea, right? It's like you only have these little tidbits, The gates, it talks about what they look like. When you encounter people, it doesn't have stats. There's no stats in here. There's nothing, really. You need to really add all of that yourself. And I guess the question is, do I sit down and add all the stats to everything? And the answer to that is I don't. I mean, you could run this that way if you wanted to be much more precise, and especially if I was learning a large group and I had a very set campaign. Because we're running it very loosely, I don't actually worry too much about it. I've got this information here, that we found. Once this was a city of black walls, colony of bridges. It talks a little bit about the history, but I mean, it's not much. It's 3 paragraphs? And it tells a story. All of the rest of it, I just make up based on that. That little bit that I've got, it's almost like when it's basically like poetry. Like you don't need all the prose, right, to know what's going on. You get the gist of it. So that's really how this set of zines is made up of, what this set of zines is made up of. And I was just actually saying to Nikki last night, I think there's 6 of them, maybe 7. And I thought, man, I hope we have enough content to be able to run stuff. I haven't got out of the first one yet. It's actually very deep for what it is. So you've got the basic description of the port. You've got some of the drawings. It's very good. So if you want to look at, they're not so expensive. You can get them, I think, on Itch.io. Is that how you say it? ITCHO. If you just do 1,000 Island, you'll find it. Highly recommend it. It's really great. But let's get into how we prep for this. So let's switch to my notebook. So I do it in my notepad. I just copied stuff into this text document so you guys could see it easily without having my whole notebook open. And you can see some of the previous stuff. This is actually session 7 is what happened just last time. Let's see if I make this bigger. I'm going to make all the fonts bigger. I think it's the best way to do it. Yeah, we'll do that. It's like gigantic, but I know if you're watching a video, it's like you want to be able to see. All right, so here's session 5. Here's the encounters that I wrote up. Okay, so somewhere in the book, God, I can't remember where it was now, they talk about how there's, let's see if I can find it right now, that there's I don't know if it's a rumor, but basically somebody is tapping these like idols that are out in the kind of the area you're not supposed to really go into, and they're basically taking the essence from it and turning it into like a drug. So I kind of created the adventure around that. The idea that, they would be asked to go out there and they being Nicky's characters would go out there to basically stop this, because it's an addictive drug, it's not good for the people. I don't remember where I got it from. Maybe I just made it up. I don't think so, though. I'm pretty sure that I got it from the thing. So a lot of what was going on the last few adventures was her doing that. But so you see that here. So when I had to have that encounter, which was the witch who was doing it, I basically use the witch from DCC. I used a pre-made monster type. That was easy. And I just used that's the stats right there. Easy enough. But encounter, squad of hunters. Right? This was a random encounter that's written in the thing. Hunting for the party. They stumbled upon some trader ivy and now mistaken for prey. I did not get any kind of stats for this. I was just like, I figured that they were going to try to catch the party in a net, and I just made a note of that. And then when the time came for it to happen, I just kind of played it by ear to see what would happen. As it turned out, it became just there wasn't any fight. Right, the encounter became just talking, and then. In that conversation, because I had already, so basically this is what I did. Let me roll back. I'm trying to set up 4 encounters per session. We only play for an hour and a half, so I think that gives her enough options so that like there's plenty of stuff to do, but we very rarely do all 4 of them, right? So basically for session 5, I wrote the encounters were going to be the witch, right? If she got there, the encounter with the hunters, the encounter with the Iron Rhinoceros, and then get back in town. As it turned out, she didn't actually get back in town. That's kind of as far as she got. But because she encountered the Rhinoceros hunters first, basically I built up more information in my mind about what this Rhinoceros encounter would be based on that roleplay. I didn't know really. What I did know was that it was going to be Rusty. It was Rusty Rhinoceros, right? But then I decided that since the rhino hunters were kind of like clueless and it was kind of a thing, I didn't want to make the rhino like this terrible beast because that wouldn't really fit the vibe that I was going for. So I made the rhino basically very kind of friendly. And I mean, it would have attacked her if if she had not, dealt with it right. But anyways, but let's actually do this. So this was session 7. This is my notes for session 7. Assuming they start traveling, I'll lead a few encounters to cover the 6 days of travel and then session with the walled city. So in the book here, you've got this guy. He's an archaeologist, a floating hostelry tethered to the north side of town. Shistas, travel supplies, companionship. Underneath, suspended from the riverbed, patrolled by General Creel's treasury of silk relic and disintegrated scroll locked in gold cages, right? That's basically where this guy's dealio, right? So he's missing limbs from previous expeditions. He doesn't like magic. So, but what he said, and this was the spur off for this. This is in the book. 6 days east, following the Goldfish Canal, there's a fort. Red walls, too smooth to climb, no entrance. He chuckles. Thankfully, I have this keg of blasting sulfur. So we know that she needs to travel 6 days to the east. We know that it's on water, right? And we know that when she gets there, there's going to be this thing to break into. So that's the adventure, right? That's that part of the adventure anyways. So what I did was I thought, okay, well, she's going up the river. Let's look for some cool stuff to do. And so I did, that was the first part. So that was basically the first part of the last session was dealing with that. It took a little longer than I thought, actually, which was cool because I like when things take longer because that means we're having a good time. Okay, so then I put in this older female. I got her because she was actually, from the book here, there are people of the Death Roll Kingdom, and I rolled up a random person. I literally just rolled a random. I'm trying to figure out which one she was. Okay, so we can see here. There we go. She was. I guess she's an old lady. I don't know how I. Oh, an exaggerated. Okay, so. Okay, so basically, what I did was I rolled this charts here. The one you have just met is an exaggerated limp, jumps from leg to leg. So I just added that in there, right, as part of the role play. And I added something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then her thing was that she was seeking adventure. Okay, and the rest of it I just made up. So then what's important when you're doing this is that as you have this conversation and you let the conversation go back and forth between you and the player, you need to make notes. Because what's going to be important is this stuff is consistent, right? So all I knew was that. Exaggerated limp, you can see I jumps leg to leg. Pearl prayer beads, okay, so that's what it was. She's a priest of the scaled ones. And then glowing in the head, right? So this is what I got from the book. I made up her name. And then somehow in the conversation, I just decided that she was an old lady that had... and the reason why I did that was because earlier I could see that Nikki's characters were interested in the relationship between the humans and the crocodiles. Because they interbreed, and it was just something she was interested in. So I wanted to give her that information in a way that was fun. So I gave an older lady who's been around, who actually has some children that are, she interbreeded with the crocodile. So she has information. So we did that. Okay, now earlier, I think session 3, she encountered a bear who was looking for these men from Candace. And in that conversation, I decided that the men from Candace were blue and hairless. I just realized today, because I was looking through the book, that the men from Candace are also bears, like the bear that she met. So she doesn't know that yet. So that's going to be super fun when she encounters them and finds out they're bears. So the person that was after them said that they were in violation of taxes. So I'm rolling this encounter back up. So she didn't encounter this last time, so I'm going to keep it. So actually, let me do this. So let's do this. Let's go session 8. So I'm going to move this encounter because she didn't encounter them. Right there, right on. And again, I don't probably need 4 this time because we're going to do the Find Familiar in the beginning, but we'll do it just because she encountered this last time. A family of low spirits, faces like flowers, vine bodies laying under the leaves, waiting to ambush hug. So I ran them as this kind of creepy, I need affection because they use the word hug. You got to be some people might look at it as but I was it says hug, so I'm I'm going to play it really kind of, Don't get me wrong. If she had lay down in the with the lay down in the vines, they would have probably they would have been dangerous, obviously, but she didn't, so it wasn't. So, but now currently, because of that, they've left their campsite in the darkness. So she's actually going up the river now in the dark. That's going to become relevant in a second. But before I do that, I also rolled up a demon idol, 10 foot tall, eyes closed, smiling a toothy grin, mutes all sound. We didn't encounter that, so I'm going to put that down here. So I already have 2 encounters. Now, I know that she is, in fact... also, I know I want to do about 3 sessions before she gets to the red wall place. Like, I want to play the river a little bit, so I think it's going to be fun. So she's on the river, so I'm going to look at the options I have here. I could have her encounter more people. Again, I have this random chart, but what I did notice here was there's a crocodile. Crocodiles of the Death Roll Kingdom. And I know that she's enjoyed interacting with the crocodile. The minimal interaction that she's had with crocodiles, she's very much liked. Again, I'm playing it up to my player. So we know that since I noticed she likes crocodiles, I just want to make a new crocodile and have her run into them. Oh, looks like we're getting a little Miller. All right. So let's see. The scale 1 is divided Guardians of the Land. Tells you a little bit about them, right? Now we have the one you just met has, and the power 2. And these are 6-sided dice, it looks like. Okay, so we need 2d6. Which I don't have any dice, of course. I don't know why I didn't get dice, so I'm just going to ask the... Alexa, pick a random number between 1 and 6.
The random number between 1 and 6 is 1.
1, okay. Okay, so this one's got a 4-limb missing, torn from its socket. Okay, wonder what happened there. Okay. Actually, we'll have somebody else do it. Echo, pick a number between 1 and 6.
Your random number between 1 and 6 is 5.
5, okay. Teleport to liquid surfaces that can fit there with one surface. Oh, one surface to another. Oh, that's super interesting. Okay. So we're going to do that. I don't know why this font is. I guess we're going to go Venica. Regular. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have about the crocodile, right? We know that he is missing a limb, right? Oh, God, that's what I want to do. We know he's missing a limb, right? Do we want that to be recent, right? Do we want that to have just happened? So she might be rescuing this crocodile? Or do we want him to be battle wary, like, it's happened before? So let's think about that for a second. And let's come up with one more encounter. So the other thing they have in here, so this whole thing with the palace, which I'm going to make another whole section on, so I don't want to touch this too much. So maybe I will do, I have a demon idol already. I'm starting to use up the, I'm starting to use the stuff up now. We actually had a fun encounter looking at the different forest goods. So I've already had her run into, beekeepers or honey collectors, right? From the corpse honey. So she's already done that once, so that's kind of fun, right? There's also this leather. One of the silliest things, which is maybe this is maybe I don't know if I want to do this or not, but I think I might. Hold on a second though. Snakestone, stonework of some ruins still contain trace magics and can be downcycled, broken down, inscribed, torn into minor amulets. Those popularized pebble-shaped viper's head, it protects the wearer against. Oh, this is interesting. So this is, okay, this is good. So this is snake stones. Okay, good. So what I'm looking at here is, right, we've got this snake stone, which is essentially something that people tear apart the ruins for, right, to create these little amulets. So we have that, right, and then we have snake stone, and then we have, let's see, people of the Death Roll Kingdom. So let's roll up a person. Echo, pick a number between 1 and 10.
Your random number between 1 and 10 is 4.
4, okay. Oh. Okay. Okay, this is good. A voice 3 times the appropriate volume. That'll be fun. Okay. Echo, pick a number between 1 and 10.
Your random number between 1 and 10 is 10.
10. A fluting clamshell cast nets a dolphin herder. Oh. Okay. That's not right. I'm like, that's not how you spell castanets. Nope. There we go. Yeah, I know what castanets are. Okay. Okay. And finally, what are they doing? Echo, pick a number between 1 and 10.
Your random number between 1 and 10 is 8.
8. Oh, same thing. Wants to go on an adventure. I don't want to do that one again. So, Echo, pick a number between 1 and 8.
Your random number between 1 and 8 is 1.
1. Dodging creditors. Ooh, okay. Okay, I can't type because I'm laughing. Dodging creditors. It even has a name for them. The Starlight Grins. A gang of thugs with silver teeth. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. Right, because my original inspiration here was going to be to do something with the snake stones. But since this has an interesting twist already, what I'm thinking is this person, someone in their family, oh, not a family member, a family member. No, let's make it more interesting. Yeah, no, a family member. A family member, no, they're betrothed. Well, I definitely can't spell today. Betrothed. No, not betrothed. Betrothed. There we go. Nope, that's still not right. There we go. Oh, no H. It's betrothed, not betrothed. That's all how you say things, right? They're betrothed. Got scammed into buying some snake stone, some fake snake stone amulets, and traded them traded them to the boss of the Starlight Grins. Period. Okay. So now this guy, right? He's dodging, but he's actually out there because he wants to get some real snake stone. So he is searching for, or she, searching for some real snake stone to get out of the debt. Because I think that, like, I mean, debt could obviously be money too, but I always feel like this kind of stuff is more interesting. It creates a more creative solution. It's not just like, here's money, right? So now they're going to run into this random person, and I'll decide who they are probably at the moment, because I like to do that. And they're out here looking for snake stone. They are dodging creditors, right? They're a dolphin herder, so they're probably going to run into them on the water. Probably maybe riding dolphins or something. But they're going to be really loud. And that'll be fun to roleplay, right? That's a fun role-playing thing. So now, right? So what I've got here is these 4 interactions, or 4 things that you can run into. And the final step here for me is I'll look at them, and I'm going to make sure that they're varied enough to make it interesting, right? So the first one with the men from Candace, they're actually interesting because it's almost certainly a role-play encounter, though she could end up having a combat if she can't convince them to go back. She has to deal with this other bear. But she's going to find out that, like, they actually just want to pay their taxes. So, like, if she approaches it with a conversation and not a combat at first, she should be able to get through this. This will be a fun little interaction where she doesn't have to fight, and she can solve this problem and gain more kind of in with her friend that's the bear, right? There's a demon idol, which is a combat, right? That's definitely going to be a combat. One thing you got to be wary of is if you're doing this one-on-one or very small group stuff, you don't want to have too much combat because, hit points, right? So I already rolled the demon from last time. It'll be a fun one, too, because it mutes all sounds while it's singing. So that's pretty awesome because a lot of times when she's been fighting some of these bigger monsters, she's been using spells, and this is going to hurt that. She'll interact with this crocodile. Oh, we still don't know about this crocodile yet. He can teleport through liquid surfaces that can fit their width, one surface to another. That seems super interesting and useful, and I have no idea how, but I definitely know that it'll be worth dealing with. I'm going to play that one by ear. I'm going to see what the tone of the session is, right? And if it is the type of situation where I feel like she would want to rescue them, then I will make it that just happened. I'm leaning towards no, though, and the reason for that is because she's kind of going to help out / rescue these guys, the blue guys, and then, of course, the random person, she's going to probably kind of help out, blah, blah. So, I don't want to have her just, like, constantly helping people, right? I mean, you want to have variety, so she has interesting things to do. I mean, the truth of the matter is she might not even help the random person that's looking for the snake stone, And this could be a combat. Because, so let's actually do that. Let's do the Starlight Grins. So the Starlight Grins are going to be, let's see. Let's open up our DCC book. So, just so I have it, I'm not going to go crazy, but they've got, in DCC, you've got men and magicians. So, they're going to be probably bandits, I'm guessing. Let me just see how tough bandits are. Oh yeah. She's high enough level. I'll make it a lot of them, so it's like kind of a challenge. Like there'll be like 10 of them or something like that, right? So maybe I'll do 10 bandits and 1 bandit hero. This way, if I want to add another, so let's say, for instance, she doesn't. So now I've got one that could be combat, depending on where it goes, or not. I've got one that I'll leave up in the air to see what the tone of the session is going. The demon idol is almost certainly going to be combat, but she might try to trick it, And this one right here is almost certainly not going to be, because I know Nikki well enough to know that she's probably not going to just attack. She's not going to attack blue hairless bears. I can just tell you right now. So. This will probably be this will be more of a conversation. And that's it. I'm not going to go any further than that. What I will do is I'll let each one of these scenes, right, develop on its own. I'm probably going to start the session off, so I'll make quick session notes to me that they are traveling. Oh, I actually wrote that. Upriver in the dark, right? And I feel like this is the kind of thing that because I like to keep myself on my toes, what I might do is have her roll a d4, and whatever one of these comes up is what she's going to encounter in the dark on the river, and I'm just going to have to figure out how exactly she runs into those things. Maybe the demon idol is under the water, right? And she's paddling past it, and all of a sudden, bubbles start coming up, and when the bubbles pop, you hear this music of the, I know that's not how sound works, but, you hear this music, and all of a sudden everything's muted, and you can't talk, and everything's going on, and all of a sudden this idol rises up out of the water with its eyes closed and starts swinging its arms around in combat. Like, that could be a cool way to start the session, right? So any of these could work, and it's going to test my improvisational skills, and that's kind of why I like these. I think they're a fun way to really put yourself out there and try stuff, because it's just really easy. You don't have to. It's an easygoing way to play when you're doing this kind of campaign with like a single person. Then you're kind of collaboratively building it. So hopefully this is interesting to you guys. I hope this answered your question or your thoughts or whatnot. I think that I'm trying to find the things so I can come off my screen. I'm probably just going to do it here. We're going to have an Inception. Inception's about to happen. Oh no, not an Inception. There we go. I'm back. But that's basically how I do it. That's how I do the improvised stuff. I base it on what's going on. Now, how did I start the first one? So I'll go. This is getting a little bit long, but oh wow, it's getting long. I'll just quickly go over this because I think this is maybe important. What I did was, obviously, in the first session, I don't know, right? I don't know much at all. So for that one, you need to be a little bit more put together. What happened was I had read a story, in the year's best science fiction. I think it was #1, actually. Excuse me. And the story involved the hero, the protagonist or whatever, bringing a betrothed person to the person they were supposed to get married to, and in the story, there's like a secret lover that's like interacting, right? So I just kind of took that story and I jotted it down, and then I just played it by ear. So with a few neat things. I think that depending on the game system that you're playing in and the type of players that you're playing with, this can work on various different degrees. If you are playing a game where it's very rules heavy, or with players that really like to know, no, this is how things work. Nothing's going to be like, I should say nothing, but I'm saying there's certain players that like to know this is how the world works and everything's going on. And other players are just more open to letting it be, okay, I get it. Like, we're just going to go with the flow. So if you're going to do this kind of game, definitely think about what your players like, because it's really about that. This is really a player-centric thing. It's not just, I'm not doing it story game style where I'm letting her make up the world, but I am really basing everything I'm doing on what we're doing together. And I'm not pre-writing the whole thing. And most of the stuff, anything that it seems like she's enjoying, I'm bringing back. And if we do a scene and it's not that interesting to us, then it'll just go away. And that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of this kind of play. It's the kind of play that I normally like to do. Even in my bigger campaigns, I do it more sandboxy. We'll see, though. I'm running Coriolis. I don't know if people that are watching this are going to also watch my actual plays, but we've been starting a Coriolis campaign, and that's a different kind of thing for me. It's very, I don't want to say it's scripted, because it's not scripted at all, but it's very, it's done in acts and scenes, and it's very, like, it's in a world that's very controlled. So that's very different than this. So I think it's fun to, maybe I'll talk about prepping for that. Each type of game, or each type of, even the actual sessions, depending on who you're playing. Like, I might play, you could play Coriolis super loose. In fact, I did that with my friend Crystal. We did a one-on-one Coriolis, and we basically did the same thing. I just had loose notes just like this, and I just played it by ear. So you can do it that way. I don't want to say it's the game system, but depending on what you're playing, more or less prep is going to really to be to your benefit. But I will say this, I almost never prep a lot of combat stuff. If it's going to be a combat, I unless I'm making something up from scratch and I just want to have notes, I usually just pick something that's appropriate. Like, okay, this is like an ogre, and I'll just use ogre stats, and I'll just literally write that. Like, that's all I do. I don't copy them all down and get into the whole precision and CR and imbalance or whatever. I just put the monster I think is appropriate for the thing, and sometimes it's strong, and the players almost die or die, and sometimes they kick its butt. That's just the way I play. I don't worry about balance and that kind of stuff. So I think that does make this easier when you're not thinking about that. But again, you need to have players that are okay with that kind of thing. In any case, I'd be curious. How many of you guys do like this full-on improvised style? Do you guys do something in the middle? How do you prep for games? Like, what are people doing to prep for their games? So if you've got some cool tips or whatever, go ahead and put them in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. If I can figure out how to close the thing, I'm going to do it this way.